we had some presentation today. I have already in the morning shared a couple of documents related to the dating techniques. Today we will have some bit of writing on lithic ages, and we will also see few things about Neanderthal man's evidences. That is a very popular site of Shanidar in Iraq. That's where the evidences were found. So maybe perhaps we'll do one thing. We will start with a short CBSC video on Stone Age cultures, which is generally for the school children, but I thought we will see that. And we will have a look at what Neanderthal fossil man had done in the Shanidar caves. These, see the individual fossils, certain individual fossils, just like I was talking about Tong fossil or Turkana boy fossil, Lucy fossil. Lucy otherwise is called Hadar. Hadar we have seen yesterday. Ethiopian site of Hadar. That is a place where Lucy was found. So that is otherwise called Lucy fossil. These are anyway nicknames. जैसा cookie हो गया, nicknames हैं. But originally, I was waiting for you, ma. We are doing it now. After the class. Take it. He did a good work. He did a good work on the presentation, and I believe he can talk well also. Generally he talks well. So his own experience of domestic violence he is going to narrate to us, and along with some bit of amendments that have come in the recent past. So these are all nicknames actually. The original scientific names might be something else. So we will start with that. So एक स्क्रिप्ट था जो आपको दिखाना था आज. This was last year's student. इस साल she's writing the exam. First attempt है उनका. 13 out of 20 is an incredible score actually. Comparative account of chalcolithic and copper bronze cultures. अभी तो we haven't done the two topics, but then even before we could do, I thought you will have an idea of how to approach such kind of questions, because comparative questions are something that people have been asking in how to approach them, etc. This is one way of approaching. So she was talking about both of them together in the first paragraph. I mean, I am reading the paragraph for you. Chalcolithic copper bronze cultures was coextensive over Indian subcontinent, and she is giving the timeline there. Here, I mean, we generally in the class will give you the names of the thinkers who have to come in your answers. Those names have to be mandatorily there. The girl is not into the habit of underlining things, but ठीक है, that is the evolution picture. She started with commonalities. These two have several similarities, the similarities of copper, bronze and civilizational age, where she is speaking of food grain production, and then ceramic, religious beliefs, rituals, pottery. यहाँ तक major similarities हो गए. And then she says there are so many other. Sir, I have shared the document, जो भी, and this is here that she is giving the distinction in terms of structure of society, where all the examples that we discuss in the class are coming. Religious beliefs, what kind of religion these people have followed, and the deities such as Rudra, snake worship, mother goddess and things like that, and who was there in, and then what kind of technology. Here more of stone technology was there, and partly very little of copper, but there There are alloys. Regional variations are there. Their large scale similarities are there. What kind of economy, what kind of constructions and structures. That's it. Examiner would have a delight of seeing such kind of scripts. And if you could have noticed, यहाँ पर तो खैर, but otherwise you won't see any kind of overwriting. That has an impact actually. Before you actually write the sentence, you have to form the sentence in your mind. Then only that should go on to the paper. बीच बीच में अगर सोच कर लिख रहे हो, every time the thought is changing, you are scribbling, kind of a thing. Got it? Anything you want to say? So competition is not very far from you, sir. Competition is just next to you. It all depends on how you feel it. That's it. You're all good? Gloomy? Are you upset looking at that? I'm afraid not. Is it? You have to be. Bhayam undali. जैसे दाग अच्छे हैं, fear is good. There should be fear. डर के नींद से उठो और पढ़ो. That should be the way you should be. No? निडर होकर रहो. I am not somebody who says that, no. डरो नहीं, फिक्र मत करो, एग्जाम होगा. एग्जाम कुछ नहीं होगा. If you are not afraid, if you are not fearful, kind of things.
The Stone Age was the period during which stone was the most widely used material for making tools and weapons. Based on the types of tools used, the Stone Age can be divided into three periods. These are the Paleolithic Age or the Old Stone Age, the Mesolithic Age or the Middle Stone Age, and the Neolithic Age or the New Stone Age. The Paleolithic Age was the longest part of the Stone Age. It can be further divided into three periods: lower, middle, and upper. The names of these periods are based on the depths at which remains belonging to these periods have been found. Paleolithic man lived in caves and rock shelters. He was a nomad who wandered from place to place in search of food. He did not know how to produce food. He survived by hunting wild animals and birds, fishing and gathering wild plants, berries, nuts, roots and tubers. Hence, he is called the hunter-gatherer. Paleolithic man realized the advantages of living in groups. It enabled him to hunt large animals and to share food which was scarce and decayed easily. It also provided security against natural dangers. Groups were not very large. There were no inequalities, nor were there any family ties within the group. Average lifespan was only 20 to 25 years. Finished and unfinished Paleolithic artifacts have been found at several sites where raw materials for making such artifacts are also found in plenty. These were probably factory sites where artifacts were made on a large scale. At some sites, ash and animal remains have been found along with artifacts. This suggests that people worked and also lived at these sites. These were habitation cum factory sites. Paleolithic tools were usually made by chipping stones. Stone tools were of two kinds. Core tools were made by chipping off pieces from chunks of rocks or hand-sized pebbles. The stone left after chipping is called core. Core tools were usually oval or pear-shaped. They were mostly used as hand axes for heavy work like cutting trees, digging the earth for roots and tubers, and breaking molds. Some were used as cleavers for cutting large pieces of meat. Flake tools were made from the sharp pieces or flakes that broke off while shaping core tools. These were useful for chopping meat and skinning animals. Remains of ash at some Paleolithic sites led to the conclusion that fire was known to Paleolithic man. Paleolithic remains have been found at many places in the Deccan such as Pune, Nasik and Chirki Nivasa in Maharashtra, Hunsgi in Karnataka and Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh.
That video combined the entire lower, middle and upper Paleolithic. They did not distinguish between different things, and several things look to be stories. After all, archaeology, the whole thing is stories only. But that her conclusions of 20 to 25 years of age, those are difficult to find, except we have the 15-year-old fossil of Turkana, very young fossil. But there is something that we will have to also understand from the evidences that we found. In the early times, such as Neanderthal, if we look at, in Neanderthal, most of the fossils, the senior people's fossils, those were not beyond 40 to 45 years of age. The lifespan seemed to be very less, especially there is a confirmation from Neanderthal evidences, number of fossils that they have found. Neanderthal has been interesting for Neanderthal, as you know, belong to which cultural age? Which cultural age? Middle Paleolithic. Middle Paleolithic, and then please. Middle Paleolithic, and what were the tools there? Flake tools. And generally what happens is in the Middle Paleolithic cultural age of flake tool culture, etc., Neanderthal evidences mostly found in Western European region kind of things, we see that this man for a long time, I mean Neanderthal man for a long time, lived in the hilly territories, icy territories. And this icy there are few very interesting conclusions people try to draw. For us they may not be so very significant, but they do a lot of work on that. See, generally what they look for is, like how somebody asked the other day, how do you know that that is a tool? So we have to have number of evidences, and based on which we will. I am here, before starting the whole thing, trying to give you two interesting stories. One was about Neanderthal man. Many evidences of Neanderthal man had shown in the adult fossils, like 40 plus years people. It was seen that the incisors were worn out, and that was a tendency in the adult population only. In the child fossils they did not find, but in the adult fossils the front teeth, the incisors were worn out. Initially when you find such evidence, you might think that maybe it's an accident. He might have eaten a lot of whatever, and hence we have to actually be very careful with our teeth. Dentists know that, not for this life, after that, meaning that once we get fossilized, in the future when our successors dig us, when they see our teeth, the teeth can tell our lifestyle, what we have done, how ruthless we were towards our own bodies. All other parts of the body may not shout, but tooth tells the stories of your life, what you ate, how you preserved yourself, and kind of things. Now when initially few evidences were found, they were not really interested in, but later several such evidences were found. They tried to understand from various materials that were found in the Neanderthal zones and in the icy regions where Neanderthal was living. There was this practice, certain ropes were found, huge ropes were found, and people were correlating with the lifestyle of Eskimos. Now in the Eskimos we see the carts run by wild dogs, or sometimes manually pulled carts also. Manual pulling has of late come down a lot. People are mostly trying to use some kind of livestock or the other. But then even when manual pulling occurs, they would try to fix to their shoulders, because in the icy region you have to use some kind of a stick to wade through. And hence in the Eskimo populations we see a change in the shoulder position constantly if you are getting pulled. And same thing might be happening with you. I do not know what kind of bags you used to carry in your school, based on the load that happens on the vertebra, and then in some families there is this tradition of sir se lagate bag, no, सर से लगाते बैग, नो क्लॉथ बैग और सर से लगा के जाएंगे, एंड देन ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम दिस गेट्स फॉर्म्ड, यहाँ पर थोड़ा डिच की तरह फॉर्म होता. I have of late seen this in the young people who are constantly on the mobiles and लैपटॉप्स. बड़ों को डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है, ये लोग घर में हैं, हेडफोन्स लगा, हेड वाला जो फ़ोन देते हैं और यहाँ पर उनका ये बन रहा है. So I was actually seeing the child of one of my friends. So यहाँ पर almost ditch बन गया. Then I said, you are becoming a homo erectus. यहाँ पर ऐसे बन रहा है. तुम अगर बाल निकाल दोगे, पानी डालोगे तो पानी रुकेगा उधर. And mother पे तो असर नहीं हुआ, बच्चा समझ गया. फिर बाद में he stopped using the headphones. अगर disturbance हो रहा है तो होने दो. That's what I said. If it is disturbance, create a disturbance for your parents, so that parents will take care of you in some other mechanism, not this way kind of. So if you are exposing yourself to one kind of practice, that would definitely have a say on your body. They have found, I'm not using the names of the thinkers, etc. We will use them later. Now, in the Neanderthal region, it was found that they used to carry the rope in their in the teeth, in the middle of the teeth, and then they would pull, because hands are actually not free. I was wondering, why is it that they were trying to pull here? They are getting worn off. Instead of that, now the contemporary Eskimo society, previously they used to do this a few decades ago. Now the Eskimos are using to the shoulders. I was wondering, why is it that they did not use this practice and did this? Because that was worning out the teeth. But we don't know, sometimes it happens, things do not come to us. Sometimes solution is just in front of us, but then we don't take the solution kind of a thing. There was this other thing of Shanidar cave.
This cave is similar to one near the village of Shanidar that Smithsonian researchers and members of the Iraq Department of Antiquities excavated in the 1950s. Over the years, the team uncovered evidence of an unusual event that took place inside the cave nearly 65,000 years ago. In the bone bed in front of you is some of that evidence. By examining these clues, you can discover what that event was and why it was special. To get started, push a button in front of one of the clues. This sediment was collected from inside Shanidar Cave. Photos show that some of the soil contains flower pollen. Pollen from at least 7 kinds of colorful flowers, along with bits of wood, were found with a fossil skeleton deep inside the cave. The flowers could not have grown deep inside the cave, and the pollen could not have been carried in by animals or the wind. So how did the pollen get there? Early humans must have carried flowers into the cave. So now we know that early humans brought flowers into Shanidar Cave for some reason. At first glance, this looks like just a rock, but this rock is actually a stone tool. See this sharp edge? Someone deliberately made it. But why? By examining the sharp edge closely, we can tell that stone tools like this one were used for scraping animal hides, probably for clothing, bedding, and carrying things. In all, researchers found more than 670 early stone tools in Shanidar Cave. So now we know early humans came to Shanidar Cave and used stone tools. This is an early human jawbone. You can tell from the shape of the jaw that this individual was a Neanderthal. And look here, where some of the teeth are missing, and there's been bone loss before death. These are clues that this particular Neanderthal was elderly. It's unlikely that this individual could have survived to such an old age alone. So now we know this Neanderthal was part of a social group that took care of each other, including the old and the sick. You're looking at the most complete fossil Neanderthal hand found anywhere in the world. It was uncovered at Shanidar as part of a nearly complete skeleton in a pit dug into the cave floor. The shape of the skeleton's pelvis and the size of the skull are clues this individual was a male. But what was he doing in a pit? The way the skeleton was carefully arranged tells us he had been buried. So now we know early humans used Shanidar Cave for at least one burial.
Class that Babu Bangaram sound చూసుకోండి. We were talking before the class that he was puzzled at how is it that within 5 million years Australo might have become Homo sapiens. On the other hand, Earth had formed about 4 billion years ago. Though, I mean, I couldn't answer him rather, because for him it is a puzzle that in such a short time how could a species become another, not simply one, multiple species have come between. Having come from a creationist background, having come from a creationist background, for him it is all the more difficult to believe that how come one species can become the other. In fact, within scientific community itself, people are in two minds whether a species can become the other. The only clue the creationists, the evolutionists say is that maybe we started with multicellular entities and then we became single cellular organisms and then we became multicellular entities. But while saying all that, there are so many unanswered questions, half-baked stories which scientific community come up with. So I was trying to tell Vishal that do not really worry, we are only trying to look at one perspective of evolutionists. Not all evolutionists believe in this same story, everybody has got their own evolutionary stories that we are going to see in pre and post Darwinian theories also. Not all evolutionists believe in the same thing. And it is really very, very difficult for any traditional conservative society and mind to believe that how can a species can evolve into the other. Nevertheless, contemporary genetic engineering gives us certain hints that certain characteristics that are there in the other organisms, we can actually get them based on what characteristics we would want to have. So we do not remain that a pure species in that sense. When we are trying to get certain characteristics from the other, say we want cat eyes, I thought that I would get from the genes of the cat only and nobody else, and I don't want to simply engineer my gene just like that, correct the color of my eyes without an external help. I would want to have the recombination, I want to take a gene from there. So my intention was to get cat eyes, but then it got me several other characteristics also. When I am talking, I am mewing rather than talking. So I tend to get so many other characteristics also. So my pure human character might get altered. So it could be quite possible that we see in the laboratories that a species is acquiring other species characteristics. It might, at one point of time might result in the conversion of the species also, quite possible. If at all you are striking at the exact location in the DNA. You there? But I can only hope that we won't survive till then, because today if we are talking to a person that's a human and tomorrow the human is converted to something else, speed also increases along with all these things. Sometimes it is so frightening, and if at all we start to see the laboratory work that is going on, it is so very frightening that it feels like why not we remained in the Stone Ages only, kind of. But that's how life is all about. You don't worry, don't have loss of sleep. A word about this man, that is Neanderthal. Before Neanderthal, Erectus was there. Erectus was considered to be the first man who stood on the 2 feet, similar to the humans, the erect posture. And he started with cultural things. He started making some tools, that is in the lower Paleolithic, which is a long time actually. Initially what happens is that when small inventions happen at a very slower pace, so initial phases of culture, initial phases of any inventions would be very long. But once you catch up with a number of them and once you understand the principles behind, when you start to apply them, the change would happen revolutionarily. So, till maybe the invention of wheel, when it might have happened, in what cultural age it might have happened. आप एक बार चार्ट देखो कल वाला जो general characteristics you have written. Looking at those characteristics, cultural characteristics, maybe that can give us some hint of when Neolithic, why did you say that? Emma, first time? అర్థం కాలేదు. వీల్ ఎప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ టైం వాడుంటాము అని కదా. So we have had wheel in the civilizational age, not before that. He says Neolithic. You said Neolithic, right? He said Neolithic. Why did you say Neolithic? అది కరెక్టే అమ్మా. ఐ టు టోటలీ అగ్రీ. ఫస్ట్ ఒకడు కనుక్కొని ఉంటాడు కదా, ఆ ఫస్ట్ కనుక్కున్నాడు ఏ కల్చరల్ ఏజ్లో కనుక్కొని ఉంటాడు? నియోలిథిక్. వై నియోలిథిక్? థింక్ ఓవర్. మైసెట్ ఇస్ అ స్టోన్ టూల్. మీరిద్దరు ఒకటే స్కూలా? ఆ అమ్మాయి కూడా అదే చెప్పింది. ఇది సర్క్యులర్ ఉంది, అది సర్క్యులర్ ఉంది. సైకిక్ యూనిటీ. పాలిష్ అంటే ఈ పాలిష్ కాదమ్మా. Polishing and grinding ante basically they are like sharpening of the tools. Chakrama. Anything else, sir? Anything? Agriculture, okay, fine. Agriculture. In agriculture, why? Carrying grains. బండేసుకొని అదేదో చెప్పినట్టుగా. Pills, వినండి. अच्छा, wheel grind करने के लिए. Another new question has come now. When they have invented wheel is one, for what purpose they have invented is the second one. Was it for transport? Pottery? Okay. So if pottery was required, why was pottery required? Storage. Storage should happen only when there is a surplus. When there is shortage, you don't do that. So food grain production and pottery, they go hand in hand. But one other question is, for pottery, do we need a wheel? There can be handmade pottery. So first you will do handmade, then you will go for machine made or wheel made. And do we have any examples of the sites where in India we found handmade pottery? Belen Valley. Handmade. Naga region. In the Naga region we found handmade pottery. They have incredible pottery made of hands. I mean the kind of symmetry with which they were able to make, that is really incredible. So maybe perhaps wheel was required for making pottery and maybe perhaps for the transport also. I am leaving this question to you to answer based on whatever you feel and think, for which he might have used first whether it was a wheel for pottery or wheel for the vehicle. But suppose we have started using wheel for the vehicle, I think that is a revolutionary thing. You started using it in several other ways, and usage of the wheel had revolutionized a lot of things. So till the wheel had come, things would have been very slow. Once the wheel had come, things started to go faster in various other ways, in various applications for that matter. So the speed of evolution would be based on that very trick of inventing something. Once that is invented, like how iron, till iron was not invented, the spread of civilization was not so very faster. Though iron and civilization, those two are not the connected things, but once iron had come, we see that civilization and man's entry into different areas had spread much faster. So he could empty the land, he could cut the field, cut the forest, and he could inhabit all those areas. So that the trick of, so once iron had come, it had revolutionized the whole thing. These are some of the things that were actually said by Gordon Child. Let me talk about this man, that is Shanidar man, Neanderthal. Maybe that is one of the stories of discovery of iron. हो सकता है. Sometimes you intentionally do. So computer भी accident में नहीं बना होगा, mobile phone भी accident में नहीं बना होगा. It's a combination.
So we can consider it like when we see Neanderthal man and Homo sapiens, we can see that cranial capacity has decreased in Homo sapiens when compared. Cranial capacity is decreased when compared to Neanderthal. So we can think the luck and the aspect of luck and the hit and trial method with the sapiens are way more easier than the Neanderthal, and that's why we.
इसका और एक थ्योरी बन सकता है, और एक थ्योरी बन सकता है. You are already an archaeologist, a paleontologist. That's what is required, imagination. ठीक है. See, if at all you could have said this regarding iron's discovery or invention, whether it is an invention or a discovery, there are theories that say that iron might have been discovered accidentally, and due to that accident they started inventing ways of production. But when you are applying this accident or whatever to Neanderthal and luck and unluck kind of a thing, I am really not there. जैसा कि brainier people are unlucky not clearing the exam and less brainy people are lucky clearing the exam, वो वाला, I mean, I don't know, वो थोड़ा सा मेरे understanding से थोड़ा सा बाहर है. We can talk about it after the class at leisure. No? Kind of. अच्छा लगता है ऐसी चीज़ें बात करो, time pass हो जाता. हाँ हाँ जी सर.
It is related to the yesterday's class. So in flaking techniques there are two types, right? The pressure flaking and indirect flaking. Pressure flaking, it might be understood as human involvement in flaking.
Okay.
And what would be that indirect flaking? Accidental or natural calamity?
Indirect flaking, when we are saying, indirect flaking is applied to lower Paleolithic core tools. When the intention was to manufacture core tool, the waste material that you are producing are the flake material. That is what we call indirect flaking. There is a definite human intervention. May I go, sir? Intentional burial is something that is very significant. Neanderthal is known for several things, sir. One interesting thing is cave living. Second is intentional burial. What might have happened to him, what triggered his mind to go in for such a practice, God knows. But he went for intentional burial. When you say intentional burial, there could be several ways of proving intentional burial. One is several bodies, if you are finding several fossilized, if at all I could call burial. Burial is an intentional one. in the same direction if the bodies are found, if the same direction, north south direction whatsoever. And then in some of the evidences we find hands actually tied, put across the body, abdomen. In certain cases like in Neanderthal, body is actually tilted to the side and then brought together, like the knees touching the chin, and they won't leave like that, they properly tie it with a rope. And when the rope burial has happened, that is a clear intentional burial. And other kinds of intentional burial proofs could be what other things you are placing along with that in the burial. Maybe the belongings of this person, the pets of the person, or various other things. These are called grave tools. We call them grave tools. So based on the grave evidences, we can prove that that's an intentional burial. Intentional burial in the case of the Shanidar cave of Neanderthal was also based on the flower offerings that were made, the pollen. I have actually given the dating techniques in your booklet, but I have also shared one document which gives a different perspective, so you can go through that document for further examples and analysis. This was a very striking evidence of flower offerings. And the pollen, so when you see the pollen, you also go to taking offerings, right, flower offerings to the graveyard at different points of time. Ek to hota hai jab when the death of the person happens, then you are putting, suppose inside the grave, if you are placing the flowers along with this man, if flowers are also getting fossilized, then if at all you subject them to the dating technique, the pollen for the pollen analysis, body for various other analysis, when you find the timeline, you might have the same timeline there. They belong to maybe 2 million years ago, whatsoever. But suppose after the death of the person, after thousands of years after the death of the person, and because of reverence you are going and offering, at which point of time suddenly you got fossilized, flowers got fossilized, and the body down below also got fossilized. Now when after several years people dig and say that they might find you along with the fossils, you there, if at all the stratigraphic change did not happen, and then they are trying to match you with the fossils, with the flower, and then they were trying to show you as an intentional burial there or whatsoever. But then here what it was found was that it is not a general plain region where the flowers could be accidentally found. Suppose in a terrain where flowers are there, you are also there. Something had happened, volcanic ash had happened, all of you were there in the ash and got fossilized. Then it is not that you are actually taking it to the grave, but in this case into the cave where it is not possible for flowers to grow, at such a place when you are finding, then there is an intention. That's what she talks about. There is an intentional burial also proved because of the flower offerings that were made. In fact, that theory was criticized by other people. The names etc. we will be writing later. There is one theory which says that it might not be an intentionally taking flowers to the cave. Maybe it is the rodents, rats and mouse, whatsoever other rodents might have taken the flowers there. It's like your body I am offering you kind of a thing. But then not many takers there, because if rodents have taken it there, at what point of time the rodents might have deposited, that is one major question. In this case of Shanidar, the pollen analysis of the flower offerings and the time period of the Shanidar man, they matched, and hence it proves a point that maybe it was the offering that was made. This was one other story. There is one interesting other thing. Look at your syllabus. In the fossil man, Homo erectus of Europe. I mean, these are the kind of stories you should learn to write to become archaeologists. It is not simply the techniques, but storytelling also. Homo erectus of Europe, what's the name? Homo heidelbergensis. Homo heidelbergensis. Where is Heidelberg? Any damn country which can come to your mind? Heidelberg. This was a German site. Heidelberg was a German site. I will give you one story, then we will start writing. Okay? Generally, naming of the fossil happens based on where the fossil was found. It was Heidelberg fossil and hence Heidelberg man. Some time back, UPSC had asked a question called the Moyer's jaw, the Moyer's mandible, Moyer's jaw. The story goes like this. Now they found a mandible at Moyer. Many times what we see is not the entire skeleton is getting fossilized, only parts of the skeleton are getting fossilized. Most often hundreds and thousands of teeth fossils we find, very less other bones. People look for major bones like femur, it may be scapula, it may be skull bones, mandible kind of thing. So mandible was found, an unusual kind of a mandible. And that had the dentition, huge dentition was there, but it was in a particular shape that comes close to Homo sapiens. We will see what is the shape of the dentition of the Homo sapiens, etc. So in shape, like we have U-shaped, we have a parabolic dentition, whereas people like gorillas, they have proper U-shaped dentition. We'll see once, and then we'll. This is that fellow. If you observe here, there is a proper U shape. Okay? Now you can touch your own self from inside to see whether you have this kind of a shape, or maybe last time when you had gone to the dentist, he might have shown you. अब इसके नीचे का हिस्सा ढूंढना पड़ेगा, but here only I will show. ठीक है, this is a parabolic dentition. It is not a U shape like this. It's a proper U shape. Here we have a parabolic dentition, and because of this kind of a parabolic dentition that we found in the Moyer's jaw, but then there were bigger teeth. All the teeth were relatively bigger than human teeth, and the shape of the mandible was slightly heavier when compared to humans, which did not have a chin-like structure. Chin is something that's a very speciality of Homo sapiens, or only we have, nobody else have. And because of certain characteristics, they did not know what to do with that mandible. So that mandible was kept in the museum for some time, waiting for the other parts of the body to come. This was waiting. In the meantime at Heidelberg, this upper part of the cranium was found. So it did not have mandible, it did not have most of this part, upper part was found, and then femur and some other long bones of the feet. This they thought, okay, this could be somebody related to erectus looking at the feet skeleton, but still that was waiting. This was waiting for this. And then they had to wait for some more time. When they had found in other parts of Europe, in France and Spain, they found the evidence of this as well as the feet skeleton. Once all these things came, they tried to match the Moyer's jaw with the jaw that they have found in parts of France and Spain, and the upper part as well as the feet skeleton. When they found that all these belonged to the same individual, that was erectus. That's how things happen. So Moyer jaw is nothing but the early evidence of Homo erectus, which was later found as Homo erectus heidelbergensis. So people need patience, sir, patience. It's not that आज मिल गया तो आज ही हो जाएगा. Skeletons wait for years, millions of years to be placed in a proper evolutionary line. That is Moyer's jaw. Those were the stories for the day. Let me start giving you some kind of a writing. We will see other pictures later. So घर पे आपको क्या करना है? The two articles. One article is titled "How old is the fossil?" वो एक article है which is about dating techniques that you read. And then I have also given one related to geological time scale. वो भी देखिएगा. Make a note. Paleolithic cultures of the world. Paleolithic cultures of the world. Paleolithic or the Old Stone Age. Paleolithic or the Old Stone Age was populated by the human ancestors, Homo erectus and Homo neanderthalensis. Erectus populated lower Paleolithic age and Neanderthal belonged to Middle Paleolithic age. The phase of Homo erectus was significant both biologically and culturally. Give a pause. Was Johansen-White model incorporating habilis? Yes. We will see several other habilis-based models. Did Skupin use habilis? And where was ergaster found? Was it before erectus or after erectus? Before erectus, ergaster was found. Now, where was habilis located? Before ergaster. So first habilis was there, then ergaster, and then erectus. Now here what you have to remember is, with more and more fossils being discovered, we have been encountering more labor in preparing advanced phylogenetic pictures. Initially, till habilis was not found, people were of the opinion that erectus was the first man who had started to use the tools. But when we talk about erectus is generally described based on the posture, the foot skeleton, which makes him a perfect individual to stand, run and do things. It was found that even before a perfect feet were developed, people like ergaster were there, habilis was there. Habilis was somebody who almost had reached the same hand skeleton. And where habilis evidences were found, along with him were found the tools, meaning the earliest kind of hand axes. So in today's times, it is believed that it was habilis who was the first one to make and use tools, and erectus was the other one who had gained the sophistication in the lower Paleolithic tools. And within habilis, ergaster was the African variant who was first among all these people. Are you there? ठीक है? Now, come down. Where did we stop? Biology. Traditionally, Homo erectus is believed to be the first human ancestor to have achieved perfect erect posture and bipedalism similar to Homo sapiens. And was the first to have culture. So remember something. Whenever any particular cultural age is asked in the exam, any particular cultural age, there are a few things you should remember. One is, where was the first discovery? Where was the first discovery? Who was involved? Meaning which researcher was involved? And what was the time period? Time period of that fossil or the cultural age. Time period of the cultural age. Then what were the chief characteristics? What were the chief characteristics, with examples such as site references. We call them site references. Meaning that we are giving the list of sites, we would be explaining the sites. This list based on the question has to be for the world sites and for the Indian sites separately. And then what was the biological stage of man, whether it was sapiens or Neanderthal whatsoever. Based on this, what is the evolutionary picture we can draw in biological evolution? If any controversies are there, this becomes your answer whenever any cultural age is given. I repeat, who discovered, where they have discovered for the first time, what is the timeline, what are the characteristics. When we say characteristics, what tools, anything about culture you may talk about, maybe social aspects of them, tool aspects of them, and also variations within India and world sites, biological aspects based on which the phylogenetic picture you will draw, and controversies. This is what is your answer. So very heavily fact ridden, very brutal, very ruthless and rugged. So that we will have to accept it. This subject is like that. Don't curse me that you are making us remember a lot of facts whatsoever. Initially itself I told, facts you'll automatically remember. I never said there are going to be less or more facts. I said facts will be there, you'll remember. Okay? Moyer's jaw. He belonged to which species? Homo erectus of Heidelbergensis. Homo erectus Heidelbergensis. बताइए लास्ट क्या लिखे? First to have culture. Later evidences proposed that Homo habilis, who attained the evolutionary development of Homo sapiens in the hand skeleton, could be the first inventor of culture. Continue writing there. Geographically, Homo erectus was the widest spread species among the human ancestors. Give a pause there. Sir, when we go to Australo, we see most of the Australo in Africa alone. Within Africa, there are some varieties in southern Africa, some varieties in the eastern Africa, but Australo is mostly in Africa alone. We will say certain things here, you pay attention to them, we will go back to write. Amma, మీ పేరేంటండి లాస్ట్ బ్లూ షర్ట్ వేసుకున్నారు? మీరే ఏం పేరు మీ పేరు? You are not serious about the exam? Are you serious about the exam? आपका notes बताइए क्लास के बाद. I would want to see you. Australo was actually somebody who was found mostly in Africa alone. See, what I am going to tell right now is about one theory called out of Africa theory. Heard of it any time? Out of Africa theory. Any random thing, out of Africa theory. Out of Africa theory is something indirectly that was asked in 2020 exam. We had prepared, we discussed this theory in the last, before the main examination, the last batch. Out of Africa theory talks about a belief that, a theory that man's ancestors had come from Africa. Ancestors of man had come from Africa. That is out of Africa theory. Out of Africa ante అది ఇంకో రకంగా అది నెగటివ్ ఫీల్ ఇస్తుంది, బట్ దెన్ ఇట్ మీన్స్ దట్ మ్యాన్స్ ancestors had come from Africa. That is out of Africa theory. When you say that man's ancestor had come from Africa, first question that comes to mind is who might have come when so many ancestors were there? For a long time, it was believed that Homo erectus was the one that came out of Africa first. Homo erectus was the one that had come out of Africa first. What I am speaking right now, I am going to give as a note in the last class of fossil evidences. But right now I am telling you so that you would have an idea. What is required for somebody to move from southern part of Africa to regions like Java and Peking? You should be able to walk. And erectus was the first one to have use the legs, the feet that can be used for long distance walking. And one wonderful thing is people try to narrate it with so many references and evidences that, see, even if I am walking 1 mile a day, it's not that I will go on an expedition. Today I have started from South Africa, I have to reach Java and Peking, and Homo erectus is having that vision. On that side, these are these continents, I have to inhabit them. It's not that way. We will also be seeing one documentary on that. So each year, maybe some kilometers that they were walking, some miles they were walking along with the animals. Not that they were randomly going. They were in search of food, they were walking. And the belief was that Homo erectus had started from southern part of Africa. He moved to eastern part of Africa. From east he had gone to that Arabian desert and partly was in Europe, and then he had traveled all the way to Asia, and in between in Narmada he stayed for some time, and then resting place. Then he went to China, Java. Story went well. And his feet also proved the point. కొత్తగా వచ్చిన కాళ్ళు ఏం చేయాలో అర్థం కాలే. This story actually was accepted for many years until two developments happened. One was, see, when you are in Africa, here you are in Africa, in between we have India. This is one fossil, this is the other fossil, Europe, India, Java, China. Here, up to 1.8 million years ago, the fossil was found, up to 1.8. Here, from 1.6 million years, it was found. Okay. This is up to 1.8 million years ago, South African Homo erectus was found. East African Homo erectus we found from 1.6. A good idea to confirm that maybe that 0.2 million years he was traveling. Because after this there is no evidence here. Does it mean that entire Homo erectus population decided, now enough is enough, let us leave this area, let us all migrate from here? But then people went. Now if that story should go well, as they are traveling, we should be able to find evidences maybe 1.4, 1.2, 1 million years. That way of, because some time is required for walking. This theory, out of Africa theory related to Homo erectus was challenged when we found evidence here at 1.8 million years ago, 1.8 million years ago. Got it? Same time when Homo erectus was in southern part of Africa, he was there in India, he was there in Java. He was not flying. Meaning somebody earlier to erectus must have come out. Or there might have been independent evolution. There might have been independent evolution. Ancestors of Homo sapiens might have evolved independently of one another, not culturally, biologically. There was something else that had happened. See, in African Homo erectus, in Africa, when Australo was found, all the species were in Africa only. That was a clue to people that definitely ancestors have come from Africa alone. But this theory that Australo gave rise to the individuals who had spread later to the other parts of the world was challenged because of two evidences of Australo, one in China, one in Java. This Chinese fellow from the beginning is trickster. When some theory is given, you could have let it happen. You came up with Australo evidences in China and Java. That's the challenge now. Meaning that Australo itself was there outside. But Australo was not having the capability to walk. If Australo was not having the capability to walk, is it that it was taking the trees and branches to shift from one continent to the other? If trees and branches were used, definitely it was not Australo but ancestor of Australo that might have come out. You there? Meaning that maybe these were all that common ancestor apes and man had before Australo, that ancestor might have walked out. Or we are supposed to believe that in every individual continent, in every individual region, the ancestors of Homo sapiens were there. So right now this is challenged. One, because of Australo evidences outside. Two, because of Homo erectus evidences all over the world. Homo erectus evidences you find in every continent, sir. And then it could be possible that the ancestors before Australo might have walked out. In fact, they must have jumped out of the trees and came out of Africa, maybe that. Or the other theory now being put up is that in the contemporary times we have only few regions, few blocks. In your environment classes you might be studying. There are certain regions alone where gorillas are there in the natural habitat, or orangutans are there, gibbons are there. Only in few regions. But at some point of time in the history they were having huge tracts of land under them. Now because of us it got shrunk. So the belief is that when these apes were there all over the globe, the ancestors of ape and man might also have been there everywhere. So it could have been an independent evolution, not an out of Africa model. You there, sir? ఎప్పటిష్టం వాడిదబ్బా, ఎప్పటిష్టం వచ్చిన కథ వాడు చెప్తాడు, మనం రాసుకోవాలి without questioning. So those are the stories. So archaeology is nothing but stories. No? Right from the class 1, today's class 50. How many classes you attended, sir? Out of 50? All? Oh, I also attended all. See? 50 classes. That's why. Come back. क्या था? Last क्या था? No. Widest spread species among the human ancestors. Across the globe, the regional variants of Homo erectus, gave rise to earliest cultural age, that was lower Paleolithic age. Continue writing there. The earliest tools of Paleolithic were found in the East African region of Olduvai. From the evidences from across the world, Lower Paleolithic is designated to the time period, you know that. What's that? 2 million years ago to 105,000 years ago. 2 million years ago to 105,000 years ago. Right in the next paragraph. Lower Paleolithic had the tools of hand axes, cleavers, choppers, and chopping tools. Take the first one, hand axes. Try recalling the 3 hand axes and draw them with naming them. Three hand axes along with their names. Done, sir? Abivalian, Acheulean and Chilean hand axes. Write down. Hand axes were the pear-shaped tools. with a narrow cutting edge, pear-shaped tools with narrow cutting edge and a wider butt. The actual use of these tools, is unestablished. Occasionally, based on the volume of evidences available, the question of the core tools being either intentional in the brackets Clactonian bracket close or unintentional in the brackets Eolithic, unintentional or Eolithic bracket close arise, where scanty evidences are found, it becomes difficult to conclude on the involvement of human, that is whether it is intentional or not. Write down. Though a variety of, write in the next paragraph, though a variety of regional variants of hand axes are found across the world, based on nearness in shape, and dimensions, they are named Abelian, Acheulean, and Chilean hand axes. They are named after the earliest places of their finds. Among these, the Chilean hand axes are the most sophisticated, with smaller dimensions and are found across Spain, France, England, Italy, Portugal, Syria, and Java. The Abelian and Acheulean hand axes were ancient to Chileans, were ancient to Chilean variants, but were found later to the Chileans, were found later to the Chileans. This led to arrangement of hand axes in a combination with other parallelly existing lower Paleolithic tools. Write the second one, cleavers. Finish drawing cleavers. They have a broader cutting edge. And a narrow butt. They were first found in the Acheulean culture area, Acheulean hand axe culture area of France. Hence any region across the world producing a combination of Acheulean hand axes and cleavers is termed as, underline that, Acheulean culture. Thirdly, pebble tools. Choppers, chopping tools, and scrapers together are called pebble tools. Draw the tools, choppers and chopping tools. Some evolution of weapons and then we'll get back.
ఆయుధాలు మీకు కావాలా నాకు?
కత్తులతో కాదురా, కంటి చూపుతో చంపేస్తా.
making something else. This was taken from others, but we are making something else. I think in a couple of days Krishna will be ready with that. We'll see how weapons have evolved. That's what we are writing, right? I mean, how weapons have evolved, how tools have evolved from less sophisticated ones to more sophisticated ones. The best thing is kanti chuputo champesta anedi. I mean, incredible actually. కళ్ళు నీళ్ళు తెప్పిస్తాడు వాళ్ళే అసలు. Come to the third one. That is chopper chopping tools. The combination of choppers, chopping tools along with hand axes were for the first time found in Olduvai region, and hence such a culture, such a combination, across the world is called Olduvian culture. In the later times, Java and China produced similar cultural aspects. Though the functionality of choppers and chopping tools are difficult to distinguish in terms of design, they are distinctively different with bifacial and unifacial scraping edges. Right aside head there. Materials used for lower Paleolithic tools. Materials used. You have written that yesterday in the general characteristics chart. Go back. Quartzite, metamorphic in the context of India. So the idea is that once we finish the global references on Paleolithic, that is lower, middle and upper, then we come back to India to do Indian sites. So in Europe, sedimentary were generally found instead of metamorphic of right aside head there. Lifestyle of lower Paleolithic culture. Lifestyle of lower Paleolithic man. Lifestyle of lower Paleolithic man. Biological evolutionary stage of this phase was Homo erectus. Biological evolutionary stage of this phase was Homo erectus, who was capable of long distance walking, bipedalism with the hand skeleton with the hand skeleton resembling human to produce tools. Archaeological evidences of habitat and economic subsistence of erectus are very scanty. But it can be suggested from the nature of tools and site evidences that lower Paleolithic people preferred to live in open spaces near to the rivers. It was to help in having access to raw material for tools, that is pebble stones, and for big game hunting. The Chinese site of Chowkotion కాదు నిన్న రాలేదా The Chinese site of Chowkotion provided an exception of Homo erectus pekinensis being a cave living species. Right in the brackets. In general, cave living is identified with Middle Paleolithic culture of Neanderthal man. Bracket close. The Chowkotion evidence included erectus skeleton, erectus fossils, tool evidences, evidence of a fireplace, This led to a belief that Homo erectus, who produced huge volume of tools, and based on the volume of tusks from mammal hunting indicated that erectus had a strong group living, that is, culturally one can see the existence of group living, possibly with division of labor based on age and gender. Right, in the next paragraph. Different opinions exist on the gender roles among Homo erectus. According to the archaeologist Louis Binford, the Homo erectus time needed a social system that can help in big game hunting, and generally it could be the male who had a larger role to play. Secondly, a theory called man the hunter model was put forth by Richard Potts. Based on his study among the Kung society, Potts proposed that erectus man hunted and women gathered along with the task of childcare. Thirdly, Jane Goodall criticized Richard Potts' model based on her work among chimpanzees and gorillas. She attributed higher role in food getting to the female. So these are certain other terms I thought you should remember. Hominins we have used in the last classes. Hominins are nothing but all the members in the genus Homo. We have used the word hominid. Hominid or hominidae is the combination of genus Homo with Australo. Hominoidea is nothing but hominids plus the apes. Anthropoids are nothing but hominoidea plus monkeys. In the exam we see this word generally, trends in hominid evolution. Your syllabus also mentions trends in hominid evolution. When we say trends in hominid evolution, it means after from Australo what had happened. Hominidae is nothing but hominid. So we use in general conversations hominid. This is hominoidea, anthropoid. So if the question comes, hominin ancestors of modern man, we are actually starting to talk about Homo habilis, ergaster, erectus and things like that, hominin ancestors. This is where you generally get confused, so I thought we would give you the time. Middle Paleolithic cultures. Middle Paleolithic, you know the time period from where? 105,000 years to 40,000. 105,000 years to 40,000. Middle Paleolithic cultures. 105,000 years to 40,000. Write the first two terms, sir. I mean, that is the first site, the first ever site, Lomicoque and Lomousterian. Lomicoque, that is the first, Lomousterian, the second one. There were occasions where the examiner asked questions like Mousterian culture. Mousterian culture meaning that you are to write on Middle Paleolithic culture. Make a note. This is generally the European one. European, even the terms they take European, these two are the French sites. Lomousterian and Lomicoque are the French sites. But similar cultural things, when they are found outside Europe also, we are naming them as Mousterian culture. The Middle Paleolithic time inhabited by Neanderthal based on the flake tool cultures of Mousterian region are called Mousterian cultures. The chief characteristic of this region was the Levalloisian technique. Levalloisian technique. Write down. Within European sites, within European sites alone, variants in tool technology of Middle Paleolithic are reported. Techniques such as pressure flaking, Levalloisian and hafting were used in variable degrees. Most significant combination of Middle Paleolithic tools is flake tools that are intentionally manufactured, found along with a few hand axes, burins, scrapers, points and borers. Right, in the next paragraph. Hand axes similar to Lower Paleolithic continue to exist in several Middle Paleolithic regions. This definitely confirms cultural evolution from less sophisticated hand axe tradition to more sophisticated tool culture. For example, burins and gravers were used. Burins and gravers were used for engraving on the other stones or bones, or on the walls of the caves, They are also used for making slots in the handles in the process of hafting. Thirdly, scrapers. Scrapers of smaller size compared to the lower Paleolithic were found in Middle Paleolithic. The Shanidar evidence of Iraq produced a huge number of scrapers that might have been used for preparing animal skins. Right, those points. They were manufactured using Levalloisian technique. Points of different cross sections were used possibly as fishing tools or as arrowheads. Write the list there. Tool material. That you can take from your chart. Lifestyle of Neanderthal or Middle Paleolithic. So there is something that I have to tell here. Two regions were found. One was Shanidar, the other is the Kebara region, that is Mount Carmel. There is the other region, that is the French region, La Chapelle Oxines region. Your syllabus mentions Oxines as a classical Neanderthal, and this particular region as progressive Neanderthal. Now we have spoken of something in the last class. As we moved from Australo to Homo sapiens, we said there was a dip in the cranial capacity. Now within Neanderthal there were two. The one with a higher cranial capacity was the classical Neanderthal, the La Chapelle man. And this one, Mount Carmel or progressive Neanderthal. This is something that one has to bear in mind. The one that is close to Homo sapiens in features, especially the cranial capacity, is considered to be progressive. This is unlike what we have been saying earlier. How do we explain? We will talk about that. See, there can be exceptions, like you see, in the case of Chowkoutian we found cave evidence, whereas cave elsewhere in the world was found in the Middle Paleolithic. Similarly, at certain places, certain exceptions might emerge, and that is how this particular region has produced bone evidence. We will come to this. Sir, I was mentioning that elsewhere, I mean earlier we were saying that from Australo, as we were moving towards Homo sapiens, the cranial capacity went on increasing. That is a positive or progressive sign. But in the case of Neanderthal, there were two variants, the classical and the progressive. Classical one belonged to an older time and progressive one belonged to the later time. It is not simply the time period wise, if at all we go into the characteristics, the classical one had a higher cranial capacity, the maximum was reaching even up to 1650 cc. On the other hand, the progressive one, which was in the timeline closer to Homo sapiens, was having lesser cranial capacity than the classical variant. Similarly, when you are talking about bone industry there, in the region of classical Neanderthal, we do not find bone evidences, but in progressive Neanderthal region, we find bone industry. Maybe perhaps that is coming a little closer to archaic or early Homo sapiens. Okay. And there are certain things here. The La Chapelle man, initially when they had found, that was a fossil of the old man. Old man with crippled feet. In fact, later they found that he was arthritic. There was a bone decay, bone deformation. But then initially when you find a fossil, and a fossil with something that is unusual combination, by that time erectus was already there. You found that erectus was having a perfect erect posture and you are jubilant. Somebody you have found in between, that was Neanderthal. Neanderthal was having, the La Chapelle man, higher cranial capacity. When you see higher cranial capacity, you might be thinking that, okay, fine. I mean, when compared to erectus, this was there, maybe a better individual. But suddenly you see the feet, the long bones that are bent. Now you are confused. You are excited but confused. Somebody having a better cranial feature and the less evolved feet. I mean, the feet do not, the long bones do not seem to be so very straight and erect in the case as the Homo sapiens were. That created a confusion. Is it that after some time evolution was going back? It remained for some time as a puzzle. And interestingly, Neanderthal came with his DNA samples also. Those extractions and those studies are still on. Later, when they found other Neanderthal evidences, they found this old man's fossil as a special fossil. All others were having the feet similar to the Homo sapiens. Only the robustness was there, but then ratios were different, and it was somebody with higher cranial capacity. Then they found that, okay, this fossil was misleading the researchers. This fossil with that arthritic characteristic of that man has to be studied separately when compared to. On the other hand, when you go to the Mount Carmel region, cranial capacity was smaller than the classical fellow, and Mount Carmel produced advanced cultural features also. Make a note there. Neanderthal fossils were found across Europe East Africa, and in West Asia, especially in Iraq. The Iraqi site of Shanidar is known for caves and rock shelters, with the first evidence of belief in supernatural. First evidence of belief in supernatural. The evidence was the intentional burial of Neanderthal, found along with fossilized flower remains. The intentional burial can also be concluded based on the pattern and the direction of the burial. The Shanidar fossil had the other significant aspects, such as it was the first to be exposed to fluorine argon dating in a combination of the pollen studies. In the archaeological discussions, by William Dancy, books are very cute little one, Archaeological Field Methods of William Dancy. Archaeological discussions of William Dancy refers to the arguments related to the flower evidences being a natural or due to the interference of the rodents, According to critics, who use the reference of Persian studies, you can write the name of the critique there, Klein, who studied Persia, other regions of Persia. the archaeological sites, especially the cave sites are either strengthened or destroyed, due to the other animal activities. But Shanidar site, when subject to different dating methods, confirmed the pollen and the fossil man belonging to the same timeline. తప్పు వచ్చిందా సెంటెన్స్? పోలాండా? ఎవరబ్బా అది? Shanidar site, when subject to different dating methods, confirmed the pollen and the fossil man belonged to the same timeline. Sir, there we will be taking you to the third phase, that is upper Paleolithic culture, which I will be doing in your next class. These are the three components. Sir, out of these we can have separate questions on Aurignacian culture, Solutrean culture. So we will be elaborating on them. Blade and burin culture, needle cultures, etc. And art form is the one that can be separately asked, Paleolithic art, or it can be prehistoric art of India. This is what we were mentioning in your last class. We will take this up. Sir, will you do your job? Come. Sir, when it comes to such terms, Solutrean, Aurignacian, etc., you find hardly any material outside, so we try to give you information that can help you write 10 mark, 15 mark questions. This was the age of Cro-Magnon, the early Homo sapiens. We'll see based on what time our friend would take. If he leaves us early, we will have a continuation.
Good morning. First of all, I apologize for being late, ma'am. Secondly, today we are talking about this small topic, PWD Act, which is, I guess if you can find the mistake in this slide. So it's simple thing. This is not prevention of women from domestic violence act, it's protection. But why I did this intentionally is, I think we are moving to one stage that we have to go for prevention than protection. And this thing too, forever is also not something which is appreciated. Myths and facts. I think every woman might have come across either one of these statements in their lives. Women ask for it. If it is so bad, why doesn't she leave? Basically, the stereotypical thinking is ingrained in our patriarchal society. What happens inside a family is private. You should not come. You should not talk it out. I'm sorry. So what happens is, while you are, if you are made to believe these things, that is, these are like myths. You are made to believe. These are deeply ingrained. Why I'm stressing on this particular thing, which is not important to UPSC, but it's still important, is this is something which is useful in day-to-day life. That they're so deeply ingrained that even to say out, they feel very much shy. Like for example, when we talk about feminism, today's feminism, let us say, if someone say I'm a feminist, there is every possibility that society will look down after you, because there is a stigma while using the word feminism also. That is what I'm trying to take this side, because this is not important, but this is socially important. You have to look for it. You have to take out that stereotypical thinking. Otherwise, we will never be able to fight out this demonic. Why do we need this act? So in 2005, the UPA 1 government made this act. At that particular time, it was very important that we have to do this act. Otherwise, the situation was turning into chaos. There are a lot of ways in which women are being harassed in the home. This is very deceptive. It is deceptive because it's nurtured by social norms. So the myths we have seen them are nothing but an expression of these social norms. So women are not allowed to speak. Something which is given by the society. They are not even allowed to speak. I am personally connected to this topic because I have seen these cases. It's very pitiful. Some 17 years or 18 years she was married, a girl. She was then their in-laws harassed her, and then she was burned to death. She came with some third-degree burns to our hospital, and then she succumbed to injuries. But before that, something happened. There is something called dying declaration, which is very powerful. If a person who is dying on deathbed, if she gives some statement, it is so powerful that you will be taken into custody without anything. You will not. It's compounded as it's a non-compoundable offence, non-cognizable and non-bailable offence. You will be put in jail. It is such a powerful thing. She was hesitant to give dying declaration also. She just wanted to stay with her father. That was the last thing she was hoping for. That is the last thing. So that's why I wanted to put these myths forward, because if you wanted to really understand this problem, and if you, as an administrator, if you want to take out this problem, you have to understand the depth of the problem, what it has. So generally we have a feeling that this particular thing, domestic violence, is ingrained in low socio-economic strata. That is what we call it is nothing but something which is there in our minds, but it was not true. It was present in all the strata. For example, we have our senior. She was married to our senior, who is also our senior. There was a spat in their houses. So she went back to her home. She was not staying with her husband. She went back to her home, and her father, once in a race, she said something to her like, "Why are you staying here?" So at that point of time, she took rat poison, and it was a cardiotoxic one. And the next moment she realized. She went to hospital. She being a doctor, she made treatment for herself, but unfortunately she died of arrhythmia. So the point I want to make is, no matter how educated you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how socioeconomically backward you are, the evil of domestic violence is present across the strata. We have to definitely acknowledge this situation, otherwise we will not be able to fight this evil in a comprehensive manner. So that's why this deceptive nature is what I want to bring to your notice, that we have to take it into consideration. The next thing is lack of comprehension. Why we needed this law is, we need a lack of there is a lack of comprehensive civil law to address this specific issue. The comprehensiveness, what I'm speaking is, let us imagine a situation, what might be the worst case scenario a woman might face. She can be murdered, and it can be portrayed as a suicide. That is the worst case scenario. Let us forget about it. The other thing which the in-laws can do is, she can be kicked out of the house, and she will not be allowed to talk to her children. She will be isolated from her children. That is one biggest thing which can happen, which is the worst thing that can happen. So if there is a sense of cruelty, if the husband has done something cruel to this person, or if he has injured her, there is a direct section 398A. So 398A is cruelty by the husband or the people of in-laws, which is a criminal, it's a CRPC code, it's a criminal offense. So it can be there. But will it address the problem completely? A criminal proceeding will take place. The person will be brought before the magistrate. But meantime, what will be the position of that woman? Is she accepted into her own home? So you will be seeing this movie, the Gangabai Kathiawadi. So what happens is, she was not accepted to her home, into her own home. So that was the kind of scenario which is prevailing in our society. When a woman is kicked out of her in-laws home, she was not accepted into her own home, she has no home. So ultimately, if you want to provide a solution in a comprehensive manner, you have to take care of her social needs. Food, clothing and shelter, I think they are very important. So recognizing her right for a exclusive residence is one of the important things which has to be done. So where will she live? You have to provide a residence right. So in this particular law tries to give a lot of rights to the women. That is, the rights based approach was used here. It's a part of good governance. So this particular law gives a lot of rights which we'll be talking about. The other thing I want to put forward is, many people don't know what an abusive relationship is. They don't know. Why I say that they don't know is because we are born and brought up in such social system. Some things are given. If something happens in family, it is not. It's a private thing. You have to see. Mogudu pellalu avantaka avanni jarugutu untayi. These are some things which are stereotypical. They give rise to a lot of problems. So physical abuse is known to everyone. So I'll give you one thing. This is a practical situation. If there is a physical abuse, even if you have a small scratch or small ecchymosis or small contusion, you have an avail here. You just go to any government hospital, visit the casualty. There will be a casualty medical officer. He will just tell him the situation. He will make a note in the MLC register. That's it. That is the legal certificate which will be provided to you. It will be very useful. You don't know, like you will be asserting your own rights. That is the first thing which every woman has to do if he or she in any way faces that abuse. Not she. Sorry. So if you face any kind of abuse, go to a government general hospital and make an MLC case registered. So there will be a police outpost outside. The police constable will come and then he will take notice of that, and from that it will be the legal duty of the casualty medical officer to attend the court trial on behalf of you and give evidence to the magistrate. It is a legal duty that was given to him. If there are doctors, you might be knowing these things. We have done this so many times. So the physical abuse, it can be documented. Unfortunately, the mental, economic and sexual abuses, especially the sexual abuses, if there is a marital rape, Unfortunately, there is no criminal procedure code under 376. 376 is rape. So marital rape was not considered. It was not prosecuted. So you have to take another route, that is through Domestic Violence Act. So this is an unfortunate scenario. Actually, people are asking for putting this sexual abuse into the rape class law, because rape especially after Delhi gang rape incident, there was something beautiful that happened. In Indian judiciary, actually we know we have this 100 మంది తప్పించుకున్న పర్వాలేదు, ఒక నిర్దోషికి తప్పించు. So 100 members can be, 100 convicts can be set free, but even one person who is not unjust should not be imprisoned. That was the, so we follow this particular thing, not guilty until proven. So you are not guilty until proven. But when we compare it to the American system, we have another thing, another beautiful thing. You are guilty until proven. If you are accused, you are guilty until you are proven. So the onus lies on that person who is accused. He has to prove himself not guilty. But in Indian case, it was different. So, but in the rape case law, in 376 law, this was changed. The onus lies on the person who is accused to prove himself not guilty. So if you are accused, if a boy is accused of rape, he has to prove himself, see, I am not guilty. This is something which happened in a consensual way. So that is what the advantage nowadays which we are getting in the prosecution of rape law. But here we don't have that. So even if we go through the DV Act, here the person has to prove that. The second thing, it is not like regular law. Here you have to prove yourself that he raped me. See, this is the plight of the situation. The sexual violence should not be the thing. Second, sexual violence, there are varieties of sexual violence. It's not just rape. Forcing you to see obscene things, forcing your children to see obscene things, making obscene comments, making obscene acts. There are multiple diversions, and there is in how to recognizing this abusive sexual relationship. Actually, we have to have an idea whether this is abusive or not. Many people even don't know what an abusive relationship is. For example, let us consider this economic abuse. What is an economic abuse? It is taken for granted that the head of the family will take about the decisions in the economic life of a family. So father is head of the family. We are given this universal statement. Who is head of the family? Father is head of the family. How is father head? Because he controls economic expenses. So even if the female is earning, many a time she doesn't have control over what happens in the economy of the house. She has to have a say. If someone is not, if your husband or if someone in your domestic household is not giving you the chance to access your PAN card, to access your bank accounts, if is not giving you the chance to have your economic freedom, even if he is not giving you chance to meet another person, all of them come under economic abuses. You can take a course through the DV Act and you can drag him to the court. The biggest problem lies in proving the mental, economic and psychological abuse. See, the mental abuses, I will commit suicide if you go there, I have no other thing. And that is the most common thing. I will commit suicide. So that itself stops a woman from going there, because na mangalsutram potundi, ఇది కష్టం. So mental and psychological things. So that is also a psychological abuse. What constitutes a psychological abuse is something which is very vital, which has to be known to every woman. There are many other things psychologically abusing. So not to discuss, you can check it on the internet. There are multiple websites and NGOs like She Heroes and all those things. If you just check their websites, they will clearly explain you what are all these abuses. Everyone must be aware of these abuses, because not only for yourself, to educate your friends. This is something, I don't know who Bob Casey Jr. is. I checked on the internet, there is no one. This is a person who suffered this particular domestic violence. Look at the plethora of feelings. Heartbreak itself is enough to put you into depression. If someone had heartbreak in the sense general, love failures or anything, heartbreak itself gives a lot of pain. It has a lot of negative elements in the body. She's scared, anxiety, worry, weak. No idea how was ever going to come up with me with regard to strength, but I just closed my eyes and took a blind leap. There is something called this particular thing, the blind leap is something which is necessary, because the whole scenario, heartbreaking, helplessness, what to do after this particular divorce, because once you go to take an action through DV Act, most of the times the relationship will be broken. So whoever comes out of this act, they are called as survivors of domestic violence. See, there is a reason why they are called survivors, because the perpetrator might have killed her. So sometimes they keep on going in that domestic violence cycle. So there is an aggression, after that there is a cool down, and then second time there is a continuous violence of domestic cycle of domestic violence. See, my mother used to have a friend. She used to say, my husband beats me, after that he cries. He comes to me and cries. That's domestic violence, that's abuse. She has to remember. Unfortunately, before she took a course through DV Act, she died because of cancer. But that is domestic violence. One has to know what she doesn't know that it is a domestic violence, because her husband cries again. She is thinking that okay, he is repenting, but actually he is committing the same act again. That is not the single time. She has to know. She has to take a blind leap. She has to come out of that relationship. If she wanted to come out of that relationship, what are all the things that government is offering to her? What are the rights that governments give her? That is the thing where our democracy lies. So the beautiful aspects of this act is it defines a comprehensive, it's comprehensive definition of domestic violence. So it defines comprehensive the domestic violence in a very comprehensive way. Women are given particular rights which are very powerful, and it assigns a duty on the government. Government is made accountable to stop domestic violence. These are the three beautiful things in this act with regard to this act. So we will be taking each one of them. So what is domestic violence? There is a domestic relationship. If violence happens in that relationship, it will be considered as a domestic violence. Simple thing. So we have seen what an abusive relationship is. Now the law defines what a domestic relationship is. People who are married, this is a very common thing. Most of the times we speak about this. Apart from this, people who are living together. This is a present day scenario. See, in 2005 we have recognized people who are living together. So if two people are living together, after their separation, see, the duration of separation is 1 year. After the separation, till 1 year, if the person is nagging behind you, if the person is stalking you, if the person is doing something which is not happy with you, then you can take an action through DV Act. You just go to a police officer. I'll tell you the way very clearly. Go to and complain against him. Say he will be put behind bars. The actions are very stringent. You are given this power. Most people don't know this. Many people don't. How many of you know actually that you have this right? You can put your, say people are worried. Oh, if I take an action through DV Act, maybe it will be known to public. Maybe my reputation will be damaged. Actually, privacy is given the utmost importance. No information will be given out. Even the police officer, the protection officer which is assigned by the government, nobody has the right to reveal the information against you or that fellow. Privacy is very, very important. That was also given by this act. So parents of a child. So the parents of a child, this relationship does not have a tenure, not like 1 year or something. It is a lifelong. With regard to child and parents, the domestic relationship is lifelong. Other family members, this is also very important thing, because not only your husband, any other family members can be prosecuted. His family relatives, his husband, his mother, his sister, anyone who is living in that domestic relationship, shared domestic household, that is what law calls. So all these relationships comes under domestic relationships. If any of them hurt you, go and file a complaint. I'm not good with definitions, I don't like, but these two are very important. Who is an aggrieved person? It includes any woman. This is absolutely for women who has been in a domestic relationship with the respondent. The respondent is the person who is perpetrator actually, and who alleges to have been subjected to domestic violence. The thing explains. The second one is the respondent, includes any adult male. This one, please remember this one, because Supreme Court has another issue with this adult male. Actually they removed it in 2016 itself. Who has been in a domestic relationship with the aggrieved woman, against whom woman has a complaint. He is the respondent. Now the things with regard to our exam. This particular slide gives everything regarding that exam. So these are the stakeholders. The law provides duties with respect to police. This we will take it again. These four are important. This is called, this particular thing is called capacity building. Now I will tell you an example. Let us see the medical facility. I'm going just outside the DVAC for this one point. For example, there is a medical facility and there is a rape case. So the woman is already subjected to a lot of stress. Now there is a gruesome examination that happens after rape in order to collect evidence. For that, you must at least have a female forensic specialist who is a forensic doctor. But unfortunately, you can check the number of female forensic specialists in our entire India. They will be like in fingers. People are not interested in forensic science. Government must do something with regarding to that. So what government did is, a gynecologist or a whatever you say, and a lady police officer will be with you, even if a male has to do, if a male doctor has to perform this examination. So what I feel is, at least we have to build that capacity to have some forensic specialists, because this is very important. Rape cases are not small things. So this is a part of capacity building exercise. This government should do, and it was the responsibility of the government. So that's what. And the rehab centers. The protection officer is any public servant whom government notifies as a protection officer on behalf of this law for that particular issue. By I think the recent statistics in 2010, I haven't gone far. In 2010 there are 71 total protection officers that were given for this issue in the whole state of Andhra Pradesh, joint state of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana at that time. So the protection officer are one whom the government declares. The same goes with the service providers. These two are legally responsible for certain services which they have to offer. Like service providers and protection officers, they work together. Whenever he is not there, he will provide. He is not there, there is a congruence. So the protection officer, he will try to implement all the types of reliefs that were given to you by the magistrate court. So you have an interim protection order. The protection order is very important. If someone is going through domestic violence, you must get a protection order. What a protection order has is these particular provisions. The perpetrator should not come near your personal space. If he comes near your personal space, make a phone call. He will be thrown into jail. He cannot lay a hand on you. At some point, if the judge believes that there is imminent danger to you, he may order the perpetrator to go out of the house and leave the residence to yourself. Even if it is his house, he will be ordered to leave the house for a particular period of time. If it is your house, he may be ordered to leave permanently till the issue is solved. So the protection order is such a powerful order which anyone can get it easily. Interim and protection order will make a difference. The monetary relief. So like I was saying, food, clothing and shelter, all things need money. So they will provide a monetary order, the monetary relief. The judge accordingly will provide monthly income which your husband has to pay. Custody order, if you are taken, if your children are taken from you, the court may provide for custody order if you want it. And a compensation, this will be as a part of the final order, final protection order. And exclusive right to residence, this according to me is very important. You have to have a right to reside somewhere. So the magistrate can have such huge powers, and he can make you actually comfortable. So the police, when you go to police, you have a right to apply for protection officer. You have a right to avail a service provider. You have a right for free legal services. State Legal Service Authority has to provide you a public prosecutor. You need not pay a penny. They will provide you. The concerned medical officer will come to the court on behalf of you and give evidence on behalf of you. Right to initiate a criminal proceedings under section 398A. See, if you go to the police and sit there, that person doesn't have any right to counsel you. Then he doesn't have any right to, if you want to file a case, you can file a case under section 398A. So these are the rights available, these are the stakeholders, and these are the rights available to the women with regards. Such a beautiful rights. So what happens, what to do? This is something informal. What to do if a particular situation occurs? You may call police, you may call 100 and register a complaint. I will show you another slide. You can call a police. You can call a police and you can register your complaint vocally. It will be registered. It will be said to be registered. Otherwise, if you can't call a police, you can call a friend and give a consent, so that your friend may go and apply for a protection order. So if your friend is facing a thing, you can take a written consent from her, a small letter, and then on behalf of her, you can apply for protection order. When you want to apply for protection order, you can go to police and directly file an FIR. They have to take an action. They will come and first take him into custody. This is called immediate action in order to stop the immediate violence. Otherwise, so you can directly approach the magistrate court. You can directly approach the magistrate court. You need not need a lawyer to file a PO petition. You can just ask a clerk there. He will help you to fill in the forms, and the court within 24 hours the magistrate will call you. And he may at that time you must be giving any personal evidence, like you have to take an evidence, like, see, he is beating me, I have seen this guy beating this girl. You have to find some evidence, and if the magistrate finds that the evidence is compelling, he may provide for interim protection order before even the hearing itself. Just you give a petition and you give a compelling evidence. The compelling evidence may be anything, a person or a bruise or something like that. If the judge feels it's compelling, he may provide for an interim order before the hearing itself. So within 3 days of the receipt of the application, your respondent, that is your husband, will be called for trial. The trial is completely private. None other than 3 members will be there, your husband and the magistrate himself. No one will be there in the courtroom. It's a private trial. So the privacy is taken care of. So you need not worry about the privacy. And if the judge feels, after the trial, if the judge feels that the reasons are compelling, he may give a final order. The final order will be the protection order. The protection order will contain what I have said, many rights that you will be given. The exclusive right is right for residence. So it is a chart. A person approaches this. He may approach police officer directly. He may approach service provider, or he may approach National Commission for Women. Give a phone call to National Commission for Women. There is a helpline number. They will take your complaint. PO files DIR. This is domestic incident report. If aggrieved person chooses. There is other case also. You can directly find a criminal proceeding under 398A. So court take cognizance of the notices. Respondent will appear in the court. It may pass an interim order if the thing is compelling. After hearing both sides, court may pass a final order. if there is a breach in the protection order, he will be prosecuted under 31 DV Act. He may be imprisoned for 2 years and he may be given a fine of 8,000 rupees. So this is all the whole thing about the act. There are few changes. See, 2016 Supreme Court judgment. This is what I am speaking about. The Justice Korean Joseph Millard actually took this adult male. It's a very funny thing. It happened because the judges were of the opinion that there is a case which is referred from Mumbai High Court. There is a 17-year-old boy and a old woman who is harassing this particular woman, the aggrievant. So the judges were of the opinion that a 17-year-old is surely a person who can abet for this domestic violence. So why this adult male? So they found that this adult male is discriminatory and they removed it. So hence while they improved the scope of the act, now the adult male, females, these are all not saved from the act. They also come into the scope of the act. This is 2016, which they just made an amendment in the definition and they increased the scope of the act hugely. So this second thing, March 2020, Mr. Ahuja's case. This is about the exclusive residence. Actually, after the act in 2005, in December 2006 itself, in the Batra's case, what happens is, it is a shared household. They are living actually. The house was on the in-laws name. The house doesn't belong to the particular person. That means his husband. The house was in the in-laws name. So the court actually gave a minimalistic order here. Actually, this was shunned upon. So since the house was in the in-laws name, they recognized the legal right of the in-laws and they didn't give any specific residence, which actually killed the spirit of the law. In 2020, this is an outstanding judgment. They reversed this decision. Even though the residence belongs to the in-laws, even though the residence was not in the name of the husband, she will be provided an exclusive residence in the shared household. These are the two things which increase the scope and which also protected the spirit of the law. See, these are the two judgments which are very important, but there are some things which are recommended. Prevent the gaps in the protection. See, there is a 3-day gap. Before your husband is called for a trial, there is a 3-day gap. Something might happen in these 3 days. Without a protection order, while the police are investigating, anything may happen. So, to prevent these gaps, they wanted an emergency protection order. Somewhere here. While the protection order provides survivors during the criminal court proceedings. So, this is interim protection order and this is emergency protection order. Emergency protection order will be issued by the particular protection officer or the social service provider. This is just a recommended thing. So that within these 3 days or during the court proceedings, you will be protected by a interim order. After that, the court will decide. In order to expand the property of domestic violence. So, misappropriating property, it means that now the domestic violence case is going on. You know that, see the previous case about the shared household. Now the person will cleverly write his property to his father and mother. Now she will not get any recourse here. So that's what happened in 2006. Many cases are gone like that. So we want to expand the definition of domestic violence. Through 2020 judgment, Supreme Court done it. Improve the rehabilitation provisions. See, this is a part of capacity building. The government should provide funds. Even if the in-laws are also paupers, then where should the women go? She must have a rehabilitation center. She must have a self-help group type of thing, so that she can improve. Recognize survivor's right to exclusive occupancy. It was exclusive occupancy. The word itself means that it is not something which is given as a gift. It is her right. The courts and the government should recognize it as her right. That is what they are saying. So the shared residence thing in the 2020, it solved all these things. Keep survivors better informed. create an emergency protection order in the particular period of 3 days, which is very important. You have to provide for an emergency protection order officer, so that the protection order is served immediately after the complaint, no matter what. The question of gender neutrality, madam is asking, what is gender neutral legislation? Gender neutral legislation is anything any legislation which do not take into consideration the importance of gender, and don't give any special importance to any gender. So after seeing all of these things, can we say that India is ready for gender neutral legislations? Seeing gender gap index, seeing crime against women, the national NCRB report, I forgot to actually, National Crime Reports Bureau report 2020 says that there is a dip in the total number of cases with regard to domestic violence. Actually, we are in lockdown. There is no, at the same time there was an increase in the complaints with NCW, National Commission for Women, because that is an easy recourse. Secondly, this section 398A, police are very happy to invoke section 398A than Domestic Violence Act, because if they invoke Domestic Violence Act, they have to invoke all the machinery, like the protection officer, the social worker, the magistrate. They have to go personally to the magistrate. It's all a ruckus. Otherwise, if they just invoke 398A, it's just a criminal procedure code. They will follow a trial. No special rights will be given to the women. So the police has a tendency to invoke 398A better than the Domestic Violence Act itself, provisions of Domestic Violence Act itself. So these are some things which play a role in ground reality. After seeing all of these things, see, this is the thing I wanted to say. It's very this I found in internet: equality, equity, and justice. See, look at this thing. Justice is where this particular barrier is removed. If this barrier is removed, then we are ready for gender neutral legislations. If the patriarchal social norms are removed, then we are ready for gender neutral legislation. If the woman is given the right place, then we are ready for gender neutral legislations. Thank you. See, so my friend is asking a question. So there are a lot number of people who are facing false charges. Yes. We have to go for a two-pronged approach. Actually, we have to punish who are making these false complaints. That is the thing which we have to do. But there is a problem here. Already there is a big issue of underreporting going on. If we add something like punishment to that, the person who is suffering may not come into the action. It is very difficult. Just people don't know. That is the state of the affairs. So we are having reservations. Say there is one situation in the NEET 2017 or 16. That's not NEET actually. All India AIMS exam. There was this topper. He got All India first. He was not given a seat in radiology. Now he asks a question: what rank should I get to get radiology in AIMS? Because the seat was allotted to the SC/ST community. See, is it okay with you? See, this guy, he scored first rank in AIMS entrance examination. Yeah, he is suffering, right? He has no recourse here. But we justify this thing with this. See, it is equity. See, equality is not something which is given in. See, this is inequality, right? Reservation is inequality. Do you even acknowledge that fact? It is inequality. Some people with bigger ranks are getting into smarter positions. But why are we doing this inequality in the society? We want to provide equity, so that thing will come up. I mean that. Basic law is like we should. So, yeah. Let's. No. That is not the thing. Actually. Yeah. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. But what happens is, government will take popular decisions. Group interests will be safeguarded by governments. Courts will take individual interests. I mean, individual rights are safeguarded by courts. There is always this fine balance between them. See, for example, in the SC/ST atrocity case in 2019, there was this Supreme Court tried to amend this atrocity case without parliamentary sanctions or anything. Supreme Court amended the case. There was a huge lot of outrage. Many people died. Are you aware of this thing? Yes, UP incident. Does our women have that right to call out of these atrocities? I mean, does our women have that capability to come out of their homes and fight for their rights? Really? No, not about the rights that were given. Do they have that capability to come out of their homes and then fight for their rights? Like the one the SCSTs did in the Uttar Pradesh. It crumbled the government. Immediately they changed the law. Do our women have that capability? If that a women have our capability, then we will try to make some amendments. Until then, it is better. No, yeah, suffering. We have to make some other things like we have to come up with other provisions, which do not, which means lighter provisions to prosecute these things. But anyway, it will hamper the spirit of this law. And we have to go. I mean, a 50 or 60 years, I think. Until then, we have no recourse. I think it's justified, considering the larger picture. That is what. That is one section of people's object. I mean, a particular section of people's opinion. It is justified. When we are providing equity, some people will get a denial in justice.
Actually, like there is 96% of cases in Delhi area itself, they registered false cases.
Mm-hmm.
If you take this law, you can play as a victim card against a man. If she didn't like that guy after marriage, she can play this act as a victim card.
Truth. True.
What then?
True. The woman has to think about the fellow woman. That is also the problem with false feminists. They are not feminists. The feminism is a different thing. The false feminists come in and they project something. That is the plight of the society.
My suggestion, I am thinking that in recommendations, there should be, if a false case, that same law should be applicable to the woman also. If she registered a false complaint against him, she should also undergo the same trial.
Yeah, definitely. But that should also, if we keep on going like that, every act which we have done in favor of particular gender.
And the spirit of our constitution dies, right?
Yes. No. That is where we are. Article for the first slide I forgot to explain. Article 14, 15, 21, they itself has the provisions that government has the right to make special provisions for these communities. It itself shows that our constitutional makers has this spirit. It means that our constitution has given them the right to keep separate laws for separate things in order to bring them up. They acknowledged the position of minorities and vulnerable groups. That's why they made those provisions. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made those provisions. You have to understand, it is not violating the spirit of the constitution. It is actually to reach the values which we have given in the preamble. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I mean, that is not simply well prepared, well thought over, and well articulated topic the way he has dealt with. I totally, I totally agree with him, and I have my feelings for you. But I know that preparedness is still not there. We haven't. You are only looking at that NCR region where women are playing ploy kind of a thing. That's only, I think, a small island of prosperity, where the entire system, whether you call development, the entire society was actually using all its might against the vulnerable women. You didn't say anything for that all these years, and when government has come up wholeheartedly to do something, I think one has to appreciate. थोड़ा सा bruise ले सकते हो. That's what you said, he said, kind of a thing. I generally work for the welfare of men. I'm there for you, don't worry about it. Have a good time. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, whenever somebody is taking up any topic, give the same kind of a seriousness to that topic so that you also dwell more into it and you help the others also. Thank you so much. Have a good time. See you tomorrow. लिख लो भाई एक दिन के लिए क्या? But still I'll help. So we are at 50, class 50. చెప్పారు కదా ఆపేసిన రాసుకోండి మాట్లాడతారు మరి. We are in paper 1, chapter 1, that is cultural evolution. We dealt with lower and middle Paleolithic cultures. And largely you would be doing from your class and the book of archaeological anthropology. Thank you so much.